There's something about bars that makes them both inviting and unsettling. Maybe it's the dim lighting, the mix of strangers, or the endless flow of drinks that lowers inhibitions. But for three unlucky souls, a night out turned into something far worse than a hangover. Tonight, we delve into three chilling stories sent by viewers just like you. Stories that will make you think twice about your next night out. Before we start, if you love gripping horror stories like these, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And stay with us until the end, because the last story might just keep you up tonight. Now let's begin. Story 1. The Silent Stranger. Hannah was a bartender working the late shift. It was a quiet Tuesday night, and the regulars were deep in conversation. Around 11 p.m., a man walked in. He wasn't familiar, mid-40s, wearing a faded leather jacket, with eyes that seemed too sharp in the dim light. He sat at the far end of the bar and ordered a beer, but something about him felt off. He didn't speak unless spoken to and avoided eye contact. Hannah tried to brush it off until she noticed he wasn't drinking his beer. He just stared at it, occasionally glancing at her. Around midnight, the bar was nearly empty. As Hannah cleaned up, she realized the man hadn't left. Worse, his beer was still untouched, but now there was something scratched into the wood of the bar in front of him. Help her. Startled, she asked if he needed anything. He finally looked at her and whispered, "She's coming." Before she could ask what he meant, he stood up and walked out, leaving behind a folded piece of paper. The note simply read, "She knows your name." Confused and unnerved, Hannah decided to call it a night. As she locked up, she heard a faint whispering coming from the bar area. Thinking it was her imagination, she brushed it off. But as she stepped outside, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "She's already inside." Panicking, Hannah ran to her car and drove home. But the unease didn't leave her. That night, her dreams were filled with visions of a woman in white, standing in the bar and pointing at her. The next day, Hannah found herself compelled to return, despite her fear. As she entered, the air felt heavy. The beer the man had ordered was still on the counter, untouched. But now, the scratches on the bar had multiplied, forming the words, "Too late." The lights flickered, and Hannah swore she saw the woman from her dreams in the reflection of the bar's mirror. Days later, she discovered a news article about a woman who had been murdered in the bar decades ago. Her name? Hannah. To this day, strange occurrences haunt the bar, and every new bartender receives the same warning. Don't work alone at night. Story 2. The Locked Cellar. Mike was a contractor hired to renovate the cellar of a centuries-old bar. Known for its haunted reputation, the bar was a hotspot for ghost tours. Mike didn't believe in the paranormal, but that changed on his second day on the job. While working alone, he found a hidden door behind a stack of old barrels. It was locked with a rusty padlock, but curiosity got the best of him. Using his tools, he broke the lock and stepped inside. The room was small, lit only by his work lamp, and smelled of damp earth. In the center of the room was a single chair facing the wall, with scratch marks surrounding it. On the wall, written in red, were the words, "Leave him here." Mike's flashlight flickered, and he heard footsteps above him. Thinking it was his crew, he called out, but no one responded. The footsteps grew louder, descending the stairs, yet no one appeared. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, and he was plunged into darkness. Hours passed, or so it felt. Mike tried to stay calm, but whispers filled the room, growing louder with each passing minute. He banged on the door, but it wouldn't budge. Then he felt it, a hand on his shoulder. Spinning around, his flashlight caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure seated in the chair. The figure turned its head slowly, revealing hollow eyes and a twisted grin. It whispered, "You should have stayed upstairs." When Mike's co-workers arrived, they found him in the corner of the cellar, muttering incoherently. The chair? It was gone. Mike quit the job that day, but the bar owner claims the whispers in the cellar have only grown louder since the door was unlocked. Story 3. The Familiar Face. Sarah and her friends were out celebrating her promotion. Amidst the laughter and drinks, she noticed a man at a nearby table staring at her. He looked eerily familiar, but she couldn't place him. Throughout the night, he never approached, but his gaze never wavered. Feeling uneasy, Sarah decided to leave early. As she walked to her car, she noticed him following her. Panicking, she called her friends, but no one answered. She got into her car, locked the doors, and drove off. At a red light, she glanced in her rearview mirror and screamed. The man was sitting in her back seat, smiling. In a blind panic, she veered off the road and crashed into a lamppost. When she woke up, paramedics were surrounding her. She asked about the man, but they insisted she had been alone in the car. A week later, while recovering at home, Sarah found an old photo album. Flipping through it, her blood ran cold. There he was, the man from the bar, a family friend who had died years ago. Convinced she was losing her mind, Sarah began seeing the man everywhere, in crowds, on the street, and even in her home. Each time he grew closer. One night, she woke up to find him standing at the foot of her bed. He leaned in and whispered, "You'll see me again soon." Sarah moved to a new city, changed her number, and cut ties with everyone. But every so often, she receives a text from an unknown number. "Miss me?" These stories remind us that danger often lurks where we least expect it. Bars might be places of laughter and connection, but sometimes they're the settings for something far more sinister. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Have a story of your own? Share it in the comments or send it to email address. And remember, you never know who's watching or what they want.